Continue the liberation.
Heads up. Hostile war machine.
Toby's trash bin.
Take cover.
Enemy spy plane inbound.
On how to make a rage suit.
Enemy sniper working.
Enemy spy plane inbound.
Enemy deleted. RCXD driving up. Proximity deployed. Driving RCXD.
I'm back. Sorry guys. What happened? Right now I'm not trading for that. I need to fix my edits. I'm trying to build a home base, but I don't know how to make it. Shut up, I'm not a scammer breaking the whole thing.
You be scamming.
Tango down.
Hostile spy plane established overhead.
Bad guy down.
Sit rep. Enemy attack helicopter above. Hostile care package package inbound.
Female enemy
You are
neutralized.
letting them steal our victory. Artillery targeting detected. Net call, incoming artillery.
Took out their sharpshooter.
Pick up the base, DGI. We're out of time. Hostile sentry turret active. RTB, DGI. We'll make the capitalists regret this day.
Perseus does not tolerate failure.
한 놈 해치웠다.
Team deathmatch. It's just another day in the office, gentlemen.
Contact down. Proximity mine disrupted.
We're losing the advantage. We're taking control.
One by. Wasted them. Kelly. Deleted him.
Enemy RCXD detected. Enemy spy plane inbound. Multiple enemy spy plane contacts.
Enemy sniper working.
Enemy sentry turret detected in your AO.
Heading out.
Authorizing counter spy plane mission.
Semtex out.
Enemies destroyed your sentry turret.
Enemy sentry turret detected in your AO.
Sentry turret's up.
Enemy spy plane inbound. Enemy RCXD detected. care package above.
Enemy sentry turret defeated.
This isn't working. We're behind. Artillery targeting detected. Artillery inbound. We're in the lead. Hostile spy plane established overhead. We fall behind. You don't want your kiddies speaking Russian. Fight back. Get a move on, MI6. MTC's nearly done. It's a draw. Stand down.
지금 장난해? We can't break them.
Objectives free. You are clear to engage. We've pulled ahead. This isn't working. We're behind. We've taken the lead.
Yo. My teacher let me go early.
Yo, bro, I'm just in class right now. You can hear it.
Here we go. We're going to have a special look
I'm
at
just
the
in class right
factors
now.
that influence a site. So this is one of the points that I need you to take notes for. You don't have to write down the whole thing. As usual, you can just summarize it into a couple of words.
Women's squinting face.
If you don't want to do a mind map, you can do a list. That's fine. But if you are doing this, your title should be Factors Which Influence the Site of a Settlement.
You might
This
as
will
well
be
get
quite
in
handy
game.
when we go to do math work when we're back in school. We
I can't
normally
after
do
this,
maths
real quick.
at
It
the
won't be
beginning
long.
of this unit, but because you're all at home, we can't do it. So we're going to start off with this part instead. So we're looking at the factors that influence site and settlement. We'll see which ones of your points have come up and which ones you might have forgotten about. Okay. The first one was a fresh water supply. Loads of people said that. We might need to build wells for clean drinking water, but there's also other things we need water for as well. If you think about flowing rivers, okay, rivers are really, really good for getting rid of waste. So throwing your rubbish into the river, while it is not a really good thing to do, back thousands of years ago, it was an easy way to get rid of all the waste that people might have or people might collect over time. Also, fresh water is really good for washing clothes and keeping clean, and it's
How long until
also
our
a
school finishes?
fantastic thing to use for getting food,
about-
fishing, and then
about an
also
hour
for
or so.
transport. Most
I know,
river or most cities and towns around the world are built on rivers for all those things that we've just mentioned, but also for transport. If you're able to build boats, you're able to move up and down the river to different locations, and also, if you're in the right place, out to sea, and allow you to transport yourself
Sam.
or goods or services to other
I
areas
know.
to help you maybe make some money.
I've already
Our
finished.
second one was our flat land,
Yes,
and
that's
everyone said this, that it was easy to build on. But the second part people might have forgotten, it offers room to expand. Okay, so if you have flat land with lots of space, it allows you to build further later on if you want to. This is one of the reasons why airports are located where they are. They're located on the edges of the towns or edges of the cities, really, in very, very flat areas. Flat areas, of course, because it's easy to build and easy to build runways. You don't want to be
Please
flying
don't leave.
planes like a roller coaster
I'm
going
bored.
up hills and
I'm
down
just gonna
hills to take
talk
off.
to
It's not really what people want. But also it allows them to expand outwards if they need to. So if they need to build another runway, if they need to build another terminal, if they need to build another car park, the flat land allows them to
But
do
I
this.
wake up an hour earlier, so I basically have the same time as you.
Millie's answer, which was good fertile soil, okay,
Yeah.
good for food production,
And start
but it
an hour
depends on the
earlier.
weather. So in the UK, we tend to grow things at different times of the year, unless if you're talking about a modern day example where we have our GM crops, which are really good at growing in different conditions, they might be quite useful. But traditionally, things would have been built around areas that were good for farming. Our fourth answer, good for defense. Okay, so near hills, so more strategic defense plans. If you think about lots of medieval castles and towers, if you think of, for example, Stirling Castle, it's built on top of that hill that used to be a volcano. And the reason for this is because when you're up in a height, you're able to see over the horizon for any attackers that might be coming your way. So maybe having some hills isn't necessarily a bad thing. Flat land is clearly better and easy to build on nowadays, but back in the past, if you're thinking about defense, hills might have been a good thing to use, because also they've been handy to build walls on as well.
What lesson do you have at?
Is dry firm land.
No, this is geography, bro.
If you were a builder, if you were a contractor or an engineer, and if you were trying to build a house on a bog, it would be very, very difficult. It would be like trying to build a house on a beach. It would just start to sink and wear away, and it wouldn't be very good. So you need quite dry, quite firm land to build on. That's why often when there are new developments happening, okay, if people are building new houses, first of all, the land might need to be drained. Any water that might be in the land needs to be kind of drained away in order for the land to become dry again. Or else you might have issues with damp and flooding, potentially if you're near a river later on. The next one, the lowest crossing point of a river. Traditionally, this was very important because it allowed people to travel from one place to another. So you'll be looking for an area where the river level might be quite low, but also you might want to go to a place where two rivers crossed or they met, and that gives you lots of options for travel. The center of major routeways, so in the middle of where different areas might go, lots of ancient cities are built in this. If you think about, for example, currently Istanbul, Constantinople, that is built on one of the old trade routes where lots of people traveling with goods and services and all sorts of things coming from Europe to Asia, they would have stopped there. That city would have developed on that crossing point. Number 8 is an answer that lots of people had, which was raw materials, so that you're able to have things to build on, but also so that you're able to create industry and factories later on. So if you think of Falkirk as an example, one of the big industries that would have been here would have been ironworks and steelworks, but we don't necessarily have the raw materials close by. We would have had to ship them in, and that's why having the canals and having the River Forth was so handy back in the day to start that industry. So having raw materials is very, very important. And then our last one,
you're still here, bro.
access to the sea. Provide opportunity for both fishing and sea transport. So those are your 9 different points, guys. So I'll give you a couple of seconds to jot down those if you don't have them already. Right, guys, next, what I'm going to do is set you a task and put you out into breakout rooms, okay? So I'm going to be putting you into groups of, so there's 17 of you, probably groups of 4 or 5. And in your groups of 4 or 5, with the 9 different factors that we just talked about, I would like you to work together to pick the 5 that you think apply best to the Falkirk area, okay? I'm going to put you in your breakout rooms for 10 minutes, so until the end of this period, and then I'll bring you back here. When you are in your breakout rooms, you can either talk to each other through the chat, you'll have a separate chat in your breakout room, or you can unmute your mics and have a talk with each other. I would prefer if you kept your cameras off, okay? Does this all sound clear? I'll take that as a yes. Bryony, you have a question? Yeah, put up.
Should it be Falkirk now or Falkirk back when people were actually settling down?
Oh, do you know what? I'll leave it open. Either or. Okay, you can pick some of them to apply back in the past, like the industry stuff, or even pick some to do it now, which would be the tourism kind of stuff if you want. Yeah, so that's good. I have. Right. Right, so I'll pop you into your breakout rooms now.
My teacher was on my work.
Manually, so I'll pop you in with different people.
Oh, your teacher was on your
Give me
work?
a chance.
Oh,
Have you done
damn.
these before, guys? Randy, your hand is still up. Do you still have a question, or...
Oh no, sorry, I've just not put my hand in yet.
Oh, that's fine. Right, so we have 4 rooms.
I seen her
so
at
4,
around
8,
pop
12,
up.
sure, we'll add 5. So that'll be 5, 10, 15. So there'll be groups of 4 and groups of 3.
Oh wait, what was that? So much.
Can we pick our groups? No, I'm picking the groups.
Can we just like not go into groups whatsoever?
I prefer 3 school groups. Would you prefer to just do it by yourself?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I'll just get you to do it by yourselves then. So guys, on your own, for the next 10 minutes, can you pick the 5 that you think best match with Falkirk and why? For these 10 minutes, I'm going to mute my mic and turn my camera off as well because I just feel like I'm standing here awkwardly, just staring at myself in the camera.
This is the weirdest list I've ever been in.
Dormy man.
Yo, what up, Bahamut? If you're new to the channel, please like and sub. That'd be really appreciated. I don't know what you were saying there, but hope you're having a great day. Okay, let's go play a match. Yeah.
Contacts are hostile. Hostile spy plane established overhead. Multiple hostile spy planes detected. Hostile counter spy plane established above.
How's it going, guys? My name is Mighty Mac here. Welcome back to the channel. Now, as you know, the title can say Code Black and Portable Crossplay. Also, cross progression. Is what is for the people and an extent results. You know, the right now.
Check your fire.
Enemy care package above.
Hunter requesting spy plane.
Hostile counter spy plane established.
Right guys, it is now 1:45, so that is the end of our first period. I'll let you take a break for a couple of minutes, so feel free to leave your computer. I'll give you, Joel, do 5 minutes. We'll come back at 10 to. If you guys want to have a chat with each other, then now you can. That's perfectly fine.
Multiple hostile spy planes detected.
Oh, okay. Well, if you want to talk to me, you can. If you want to ask me questions. My Christmas was fine. I was stuck over here, though. I wasn't able to go back to Ireland this year.
Enemy sentry turret detected in your AO.
How was your New Year's, sir?
Do you know what? It was alright, Bernie. I don't really like New Year's that much. I never really celebrate it. Because I'm never in Scotland for New Year's ever, so I've never had like a proper hogmanay. So this was my first year, but I just watched the countdown on the telly, which is pretty lame, but it was grand. Like, it was what it was. Can't complain.
That's good. I'm glad you had a good New Year's.
Yeah. How was yours?
What did I do New Year's? Oh, yeah, mine was good, sir. Mine was good, thank you.
Enemy appears KIA.
But I don't know. I suppose all we can do is just make the most of what it is.
Authorizing napalm strike.
Hostile spy plane established overhead. Hostile spy plane established overhead. Enemy counter spy plane inbound.
Tango down.
Your proximity mine has been destroyed.
Hostile male kill confirmed.
Sentry turret. Napalm strike awaiting orders.
Grenade!
Enemy spy plane inbound. This is how we drilled it. Fall back. Going ahead. Hostile attack helicopter inbound.
Roger.
Scorcher force units taking extra cover. Watch out below.
Time's against us. Bring this home.
They're gone.
Great job, CIA. No fuss, no fuss.
Hostile forces eliminated. Awaiting extraction. Grenade!
Right, folks, we are back. Ready to move on to the second lesson? I'll just assume that's a yes.
Indeed, I am.
Oh, great, Lewis. Thanks. Right, let me get up the PowerPoint. Right, folks, so we're moving on to the second part of this bit, which is all about the different zones of the city. So our learning intention for this period is you're developing your understanding of the different zones of the city. You can name the four main zones, model, geography thing to do with where things are placed in the city, and you can state some characteristics of each zone. So, the first bit is the concentric ring model. This shows the different parts of the city. There's normally four different parts. The part in the middle is called CBD, or Central Business District. This is kind of like the city centre. Then you have the inner city, where you have old housing and industry. You have the suburbs, which are like the new housing and industry. And then you have the green belts, the bit on the outside, which is the open land and the fields. What I need you to do is copy out this diagram, so essentially just four circles, and then label each of the circles for me, please. So label the CBD, inner city, suburbs, and greenbelt. Today we are going to be looking at all of these sections and what happens in each one. I'll give another 30 seconds. Right, so the next bit. The concentric zone model, don't want to talk about that. So, the first part of the city, the CBD, the inner city, the bit that's in the middle, the central business district. The things that we will find there, okay? If you could hazard a guess, guys, in the chat, can you write down one thing that you would expect to maybe find in the CBD, in the city centre? If you think about Glasgow, if you're in the centre of the city, doing some shopping, what kind of things would you expect to find? Yeah, Robbie, you're right. Lots of shops. You would. Lots of people. It's very busy. Starbucks, yeah. So kind of those fancy shops. Big crowds. Hospitals. Public transport. That's excellent, yeah. So lots of people. Public transport. Restaurants. You would. Well done. Yeah, so all those different types of things. Let's stop. Oh, construction, that's a really good one. Yes, you would find some construction, so building happening. That's really good. Alright, so one of the things you might find, you don't have to take down anything right now, I'm going to give you a list of these at the end, but one thing you might find in the CBD is really buildings. Like Cineworld in Glasgow, which is, funnily enough, Europe's highest cinema. It's the tallest one. There's a fun fact. The reason for this, the reason why buildings are so tall in the centre of the town or in the centre of the city is because land is so expensive. If you are going to build a building in the centre of the city, it's going to be very expensive to buy the land to do it. So instead of making very long, wide buildings, they buy a little bit of land and then they make the most of it. They build very, very tall. And that's why in most big cities, you have so many tall buildings. Or if you take cities like New York, so many skyscrapers. Because the land is so expensive, so they're forced to build upwards instead of outwards in order to get the most out of their money. Yeah, so the land is very expensive. Because it's the busiest place, it's the centre of the city, it's where all the transport is, it's where all the shops are, it's where all the people go, that makes the land very expensive. It's in demand, which means that it causes prices to rise. You might find lots of religious buildings, because the centre of the city or the centre of a town tends to be the oldest part. It's the part that was built first, and then everything else grew up around it. So because of that, you tend to find lots of historic buildings. So Glasgow, for example, you have Glasgow Cathedral and other buildings around it. If you take Edinburgh, for example, all the old town is effectively part of the CBD as well. So that old part is part of the CBD. It continues to be a feature even today. Because of all these old buildings, you might get lots of tourists. So because of that, you find tourist information facilities. You might find public toilets. You might find transport links, bus stations, train stations. All these things are found in the CBD as well. Because it's the centre of the city, you also might find government buildings or maybe council buildings if you're talking about Falkirk Council. And that's because it's the most accessible place. It's the easiest place to get to in the city because that's where all the roads lead to, that's where all the train stations are and the bus stations are. So if somebody needs to do some important business in a government building, it's easy for them to get there. You also find something called a gridiron street pattern. Okay? A gridiron street pattern is the shape that the streets are built in. And if you look at the picture here, grow or go in the shape of a hashtag. The gridiron street pattern is when the streets form a hashtag shape where they all cross over each other and create boxes. So Glasgow is a really good example of this. Most streets in Glasgow tend to be on squares. A really famous international example, if you've ever been on holidays in Barcelona, you'll realize that Barcelona is in the shape of a grid. Everything is planned to be in a square. And most modern cities and towns are built in this way. Glasgow, the streets in Glasgow were designed for carriages and horses. They weren't designed for cars originally, which is why a lot of the streets are very, very narrow. And there's just an example of gridiron street patterns. So in this diagram here of Glasgow, you can see all the different streets. You can see Glasgow Central Station, and you can see George Square, that green box in the middle. You'll also find museums, art galleries, all those historic things for the tourists. That's quite straightforward. You might find some housing, okay? You might find some flats here, okay? But you rarely find families living in these flats because the rent is so expensive. They often also, because there's such small amounts of space, they tend to be maybe 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom flats. So you would find young people that might work in banks and all that kind of stuff without a family of their own would tend to stay there. They work in the center of the city, so they'll live in the center of the city as well. And there's different names for these types of people. DINK is one, so there's dual income no kid, where there's maybe like 2 people earning money but they have no children to spend it on. Another word is yuppie, so a young professional. But yeah, so they live in the CBD because that's where all the restaurants are, all the shops are, also where all the pubs and clubs are, and the cinemas are. So they're able to, because they don't have any children, afford to live in this expensive place. And that links on to this one. So lots of entertainment facilities, clubs, concert halls, restaurants, cinemas, all things you can find in most CBDs, particularly in Glasgow as well. There's some more examples. More. City World again.
You haven't seen the last of me.
Okay, so the CBD is also the main hub for railway and bus stations. So if you think of Glasgow alone, you have the Central Station, Cannon Bus Station, Queen Street Station. The CBD tends to be where all the transport facilities of a city lead to. It also tends to be where all the roads lead to. So most roads might lead to the centre of the town, the centre of the city. Likewise, your bus stations and train stations tend to be in the centre and work their way outwards. Also, Glasgow is quite unique because it has a motorway that goes through the city, the M8. So that's another example of it being very, very accessible. You also have indoor shopping centres, like the Buchanan Galleries. More. Also, in the CBD, you tend to have pedestrianised streets. Streets that cars aren't allowed to go on, and you're only allowed to have people on them. That is because the CBD is a big shopping area, entertainment area, and tourist area. And to have more room attracts people in. People won't go to the CBD if they feel unsafe there, if they feel like a car might run them over, so they pedestrianise the streets instead. Also, in the CBD, you have a lack of open space. You don't have any or many parks or greens or gardens for people. Instead, it's mostly buildings. And that's just because there's lots of competition for space, so it all needs to be built on. Lots of people think that having a park in the centre of a city is a waste of that land. Whether you agree or not with that, it's up to you. I don't necessarily agree with it either. But it's what some people say. You tend to find lots of businesses here, offices, particularly when it comes to banks, maybe insurance, You also find lots of hotels here as well. Densely packed buildings, narrow streets, and a new word for us, high order services. So these are kind of, how do I explain it? Like fancy high-end shops. So an example of a lower service shop or a lower order service shop would be like a charity shop, a bedding shop, a corner shop. Higher order service ones are above that, like any chains, any high-end clothes shops tend to be higher order services as well. All of those. Buildings are close together, they tend to be quite tall to make room for space. Lots of older buildings as well. Gridiron street pattern you can see in this picture, shaped like a hashtag. You can see that the buildings are very clearly in a box or in a square. And there's lots of limited open space as well. And folks, this is the summary. This is the bit that I need you to take down for the CBD. So for the CBD, you tend to find bus stations, train stations, it's where the roads meet. You have galleries, museums, tourist information, your gridiron street pattern, which is like your hashtag. It's the oldest part of the city. You'll find churches, high-end shops, entertainment, and tall buildings. I really need you to take note of those, okay? Because this is so important when it comes to our mapping stuff later on. When we do the mapping section, when we come back, you will need to be able to tell which part of the map is the CBD, inner city, which ones are the suburbs, and you do this by using this list. So can you take down this list for me, please? These are everything that happened in the CBD, which is the inner section. I'm going to give you, we say 3 minutes to take this down. So 3 minutes. I'm looking at my clock here. 3 minutes.
Sorry, do I need to write it or can I just put it in my notes from my phone?
Oh, if you want to put in your notes on your phone, you can. That's fine. As long as you're just taking it down somewhere. So if you have, for example, where you keep your geography notes, that's where I would stick it.
Enemy RCXD detected. Enemy counter spy plane inbound. Enemy spy plane inbound. Enemy napalm strike incoming.
Alright Right, folks, I think we should move on to our second part of the city. Okay, I'll take that as a yes. When it comes to Falkirk, the CBD would be the high street, okay? So in Falkirk's version, so you have the high street going through, it's kind of pedestrianised. You have like the steeple, which is an example of an old building. The buildings in the high street tend to be quite tall. On the high street, off the high street, you have the Howgate, which is an example of a shopping centre. I don't think there's many like shops on the Howgate or on the high street anymore, but at one time when it was bustling and really busy, you had lots of different higher order shops. So that would be like Falkirk's example. Right, so we'll move on to the next section, the bit that's outside of the CBD, which is the inner city. Oh boy, isn't this moving on?
Enemy spy plane inbound.
Okay, excellent. So guys, in the chat box, the inner city, the bit that used to be for industry, can you write down what you think we might find here? So what kind of things might we find in the inner city? Yes, Jay, we would find flats. Yep, you'd maybe find some houses, you would. Terraced houses in particular, those ones that are like joined up together. Yes, you would find some businesses. Yeah, you'd find corner shops, you would, in the inner city. Parks. Yeah, you'd find some parks. There isn't that much need for space in the inner city anymore. So yeah, you'd find some parks, you would, very good. Yeah, you'd find some schools.
Enemy sniper working.
I feel like that might be all the answers I'm going to be getting. So I'll run through some of the examples, guys, of things you'd find in the inner city. So, in the inner city, notice that some houses, apartments, flats, restraints, businesses, or I suppose that's restaurants, businesses, parks, bars, hotels, schools, hospitals, not as much as CBD, but public transport. Yeah, spot on. So guys, some examples.
Restaurants.
What?
I meant to say restaurant, but
yeah, I
got
lots of businesses, I kind of guess, but that's okay. Thanks, Lewis. So, in the CBD, or not in CBD, in the inner city, you tend to find flats. In the case of Glasgow, they're in the style of tenement flats, which you can see at the bottom of this slide. I actually used to live in one of these flats when I lived in Glasgow. At the time when they were first built, okay, they were very, very small. The housing conditions were very, very bad. They didn't have bathrooms even. Okay? So they were very, very cramped. Then in around the 1960s, 1970s, Glasgow City Council decided to make changes to these flats and update them, modernise them. So they used to knock the walls in between 2 or 3 of the smaller flats and make bigger flats. They put in kitchens, they put in toilets and made them more modern, okay? These have very, very small gardens, and if they do have a garden, they're shared. So all the people living in the flat would share the garden place. One thing that this area has in common with the CBD is that it also has a gridiron street pattern. It has that hashtag shaped streets. But instead of having businesses and shops along the streets, instead you have straight rows of houses. So you might have straight rows of tenement houses, like you see in this picture here, or you might find straight rows of terraced houses. Terraced houses are, well, you'd see them in Falkirk quite a bit. They're just houses where there's like a row of houses stuck together, and they might have just like one upstairs apartment. Okay, but they would have maybe their own garden garden and a front garden. In the inner city, you also find old factories and warehouses. That is because the inner city used to be the business area. So before tourism became popular,
I got
and
a phone call
before hotels and restaurants became like a thing that people went to and worked, lots of people worked in factories, in docks, in warehouses, making things and producing things.
Where'd you get a phone call from?
And that is the case with Glasgow. Over time, though, in Glasgow,
For
the
apparently
factories kind of
threatening
started to shut
someone.
down. They weren't as popular as they
What'd you do?
and that's something that also happened in Falkirk.
Wait, what'd you say?
In Falkirk, the big industry in the inner city area would have been the ironworks and the steelworks. But then over time, those factories started to close down as well, just like in Glasgow. You'll find your lower order shops and services, so Poundlands, charity shops. You might find things like betting shops, corner shops, all those kind of things. The flats, though, or the buildings, still tend to be quite tall.
The kid
So
started
these
saying I
terrace
found
houses or
gold,
these
so I said
tenement
keep
buildings,
talking until
it was really important to have land and to have access to the water, so that made the land very expensive at the time. So to make the most out of your land, they
Sorry guys in the background, I'm in a call for class.
that was a nice short one. Can I get you to write down, please, the features of the inner city? So you might find factories or works, warehouses. They are often along the harbour because they used to use ships to transport things to the factories. In the Falkirk example, I would say areas like Bates, but in Falkirk,
how do our
instead of a
parents not care
harbour, we would
that you
have
are
the
playing
canal.
games
And
while in a
along the
lesson?
canal, that's where all
They
the
probably do.
Oh, 'cause I'm in the room.
No.
You still have maybe a gridiron street pattern, not always, but most of the time.
They don't know I'm playing this
Straight
right now.
rows of tenement housing, few or small gardens, low order shops and services, and dense buildings. The buildings are very, very packed together. So guys, I'm going to give you another 3 minutes to take down all of that for me.
I just take screenshots all the time. Just keeping it on my phone. There, I got it down, boys. I'm gonna tomahawk somewhere real quick. Okay.
I'm a go piece.
Okay, bro. Have a nice day.
Hostile spy plane established overhead. Sitrep, napalm strike inbound. Hostile spy plane established overhead.
Tango down.
Right folks, I am going to move on from this one. The next area of the city we are going to look at is the suburbs. So, same thing again guys, in the suburbs, in the chat, what kind of things might we find? Can you give me some examples?
Hostile sentry turret active.
Jay, you can find families living here. houses, less densely populated. Good answer so far. Yeah, so you'd find more families, a lot less dense, so you'd have more space. You have this there. I'll give people a chance to write any more. They might be thinking. Oh, Carrick, very good. Yes, you would find an older population there. Yeah, Lewis, I think Long Island would count as suburbs. Mackenzie, very good. Not as much public transport. Yes, well done. Antonia, excellent. You would find parks. You are correct. Yes, you'd find much bigger gardens. 100%. Well done. Yeah, Natalia, you'd find schools because there's lots more families there, so you'd find schools as well. You'd see some farms, guys. The further out you go, the more there would be. Right, well, we have a look at some answers. I think we should. Alright, so what you would find is that the housing style is very, very different in the suburbs than in the inner city. You have a mixture of semi-detached, detached, and maybe some low-rise flats. Okay, so they tend to be much newer buildings than other parts of the city. So semi-detached is when you have two houses side by side, like that picture in the middle, and then a detached house is just when you have a house on its own. These houses tend to have gardens, maybe in the front and the back, and they also tend to maybe have garages or a car parking space. And that's what separates them out from the inner city. In the inner city, people that live there, they can own a car, but they're parking their car on the street. In the suburbs, you'll often have a parking space for your car, or a garage, or a lock-up thing. And the houses are much, much newer. It's also low density. Okay, so they're not very packed in together. There's a lot more open space. And you tend to have more parks, golf courses, a lot more greenery here. Okay? You also have a different type of street. So if you see this top left-hand picture, we can no longer say that this is a gridiron street pattern. It's not in a hashtag. It's in a big bend. Okay, so you tend to have cul-de-sacs where streets just end, and then the name of this street pattern, where it's like bendy and curvy, is curvilinear. We'll come to that in a bit later on. You still have some shopping though, but the shopping that you do have is planned. Okay, you might have business parks, office parks, like retail parks, with lots of parking spaces. They'll be on the edge of the city, so people would have to drive out to them. Also, you'll have the suburbs being very close to motorways, so that people can drive to and from the CBD for work. So if they want to leave their jobs, they're able to drive from the city to the suburbs via the motorway. So when it comes to old areas in Glasgow, these are some of the features. So they have garages, they're semi-detached, lots of greenery, so there's trees. The houses tend to be bigger, maybe 3 or 4 bedrooms. They have bigger windows, they have driveways, front and back gardens, and also it tends to be a lot quieter, a lot more peaceful in the suburbs than it is in the CBD and the inner city, because there's less traffic and there's less people. It's much more spread out. Some modern suburban houses tend to look a bit like this. If we're thinking of a Falkirk example, the suburbs would probably be like the Canary area, I guess, out by Stenisphere and Larver, like those new builds, that are on the very edge of the Falkirk area that tend to be quite close to greenery, and they have front gardens, back gardens, and tend to be quite detached. The street pattern you can see here from a high, so it's no longer in a grid, it's all bent, and it's called a curvilinear street pattern. So guys, the features of the suburbs are now on the board. You have detached houses, semi-detached houses, gardens, garages. That should read low density building, not low density building. That's my fault, I'm sorry. Yeah, Lewis, anywhere like that would suit kind of the newer areas. You have green space, parks, golf courses, planned shopping centres and business parks, and it might be close to a motorway or a main road. So guys, I'll give you another 3 minutes to copy that one down. Then we've one more area to do, and then we're finished for today. Then when you have Miss Woodall later on in the week, you are going to be looking at changes that have taken place. So how the CBD has changed. And if you're lucky, you get the chance to do an old exam question, one of our favourites. I feel like I could hear you all like groaning out of annoyance from home the minute I said exam question. You love them, really. So when you're doing your exam questions, guys, just like in school, it'd be good to use your jotters if you have them. You all should have them.
Wait, so what was the typo again? Where was it?
Oh, low density building. That's that.
Oh, right, okay.
J.
Yo, Anthony. You made it. You made it on, bro.
Right, folks, we'll move on to our last one. Will we get it done within the 5 minutes? We'll see. So our last one is
Let's
the
go.
green
I'm coming
belt.
on soon after
For this
I
one,
do
you don't have to worry
equations.
about writing down any guesses. We'll just cut straight to the chase. And we'll just see what's in there, okay? Because we're tight for time.
There's a new gun out, and I'm going to try it right now.
So, the green belt is found on the outskirts of the town. You have lots of open space with many farms and lots of forestry. The green belt is often protected from being built on as well. There's often laws
Please be an auto fire.
in place
Please be an
to
auto fire.
stop people from building things in the green belt. So that helps it keep itself lots of green, or very green and protected and not built on. An example was in London. London has a very famous green belt that's very heavily protected, and because of that, it's causing house prices to go up in the city. Because normally, if there's a shortage of houses, you just build more. Well, London has grown out to the edge of its green belt, and it's not allowed to grow out any further. So that causes the houses that are there to become more and more and more expensive. So that is a problem with green belts.
Oh my god, this is...
Some developments though have been allowed. You are allowed to build green belts in some places.
I thought I got any attachments on this.
Parks, motorways, shopping centres. But people are very unhappy about it a lot of the time. They don't like people building in the green belts. And guys, here's your list. Things you find in the green belt. It's on the outskirts of town. You've lots of open space. You find farms, forestry, business parks, motorways, shopping centres, and then you also might find airports in the case of Glasgow and Edinburgh.
We've taken the lead.
So that's the last thing. Just take that down. And then we are done.
Oh, no. I think it was just sitting there.
So folks, we've covered an awful lot of ground today. So once you have the notes from the green belt taken down, then you can log off. That's you done for the day, because we've done a lot today.
Yep.
So if you've all written down, you can log off. Thanks very much for everyone that joined in. It's great to see all your names and to hear some of your voices. Some excellent answers. Really, really impressed. And hopefully I'll get the chance to see you guys again very, very soon. If not, I'll see you next week, gentlemen.
They're dead.
Goodbye, sir. Have a good day. And a
Yeah,
good
you
weekend.
too, Lewis. Take it easy.
You know me.
But this gun. That's all the work done now. It's all done today.
Napalm strike.
We're gonna get a few kills here, probably. So. Yeah, hold on. R3 still here.
Hostile spy plane established overhead.
One, two, three, four. What up, guys? By the way, there's a new gun out. It's called the Gozo, I think it's called. Let me just check. Pretty sure it's called the Gozo. The Grozo. Grozo, that's what it's called. It's actually really good. I've not got any attachments on this yet. No attachments at all. Come on, we got one. I'm not very good at this game, but I mean, I like it. I love this game. But I'm not very good at it.
Enemy RCXD detected.
Transmitted.
Multiple enemy sentry turrets active. Multiple hostile sentry turrets working your AO.
I highly suggest using this gun. It's a beast of a gun. Alright.
Throwing frag. Sentry turret destroyed. Incoming grenade. Showdown.
Look at this with no attachments.
Multiple hostile sentry turrets working your AO.
Throwing stun.
I have 27 kills with this gun. It's a beast.
Frag out.
Oh my god, it's got double kill with the grenades.
Kill two.
Ross, for this gun, man. This will be.
Enemy's pipeline inbound.
Got another killer grenade. Let's get people right now. See if it must spots. Oh, I actually almost got that kid as well. Let's go. GG's in the kit. I got the highest amount of kills, and I get the last kill, the base kill. Oh, wait, never mind. I thought that was me. Look, I'm gonna have better kills than this. I mean, I had like 5 kills. Okay. I've had like, oh wait, I had a 6 kill streak. GG's. Like that. Like that. Like that. Boom. Make my new favorite gun.
Team deathmatch. Alright chaps, we trained for this, you know what to do. control. We're losing this fight.
Frag out.
We've pulled ahead.
Hostile stun grenade.
We've fallen behind.
Trophy system eliminated.
We're taking control.
Throwing stun. Enemy destroyed.
We've lost the lead. We've taken the lead. We're losing the advantage.
Throwing stun. Enemy appears KIA.
Hostile spy plane established overhead. We've lost the lead. We've pulled ahead. This fight. Pulling ahead. We've fallen behind.
Hostile expired.
We're in the lead. We're losing the advantage. We're taking control.
Your sentry turret has been destroyed.
sentry turret detected in your AO.
Sentry turret history.
One down.
Enemy care package above. Enemy counter spy plane inbound. Hostile sentry turret active. Victory's close. Crush those commie bastards. Enemy napalm strike incoming. Hostile spy plane established overhead. Exactly how we planned it. Several occultists.
잘하는군. That's the win.
Cause Amy was bullying Toby. I mean, I know you, Amy. Copy the link. To same phone. At awesome level cast stay away from https://youtube.b/mchfl9hyw5k face with tears of joy. What phone I got?
Team deathmatch. Green light, green light. We're in the lead. We've lost the lead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's finished. What? We were going over like population and different places and that. No, there's nothing to be posted. It was a call. Yeah. Yeah. What? We already did it. We did it in the class thing. No. What? I don't think so.
Molotov inbound. Wasted them. Frag out.
Enemy spy plane inbound.
Throwing grenade.
Multiple enemy spy plane contact.
Grenade out. Frag out.
He told me that someone was resisted.
Enemy care package
Throwing
above.
stun.
He told me to send back the left.
Friendly target. Friendly target.
Likely to send next class.
Semtex incoming. Frag out.
Napalm strike standing by.
Nothing saying his brother type 16 has actually returned.
Deploy napalm strike on my grid.
Brother is 17. like none.
Hostile attack helicopter inbound.
Sender is
Enemy sniper working.
Enemy spy plane inbound. Don't do it for me. Get back to your Uncle Sam.
Has been destroyed.
Multiple enemy spy plane contacts. Sitrep, napalm strike inbound. Hostile sentry turret active. Okay, I'm calling it. All operators proceed to exfil point.
Hard to fail. Hard to fail.
Team deathmatch. Best of luck, soldier. The folks back home are counting on you.
They're dead. Stun grenade out.
Yeah. Nothing to know.
Huh?
Nothing to know.
Enemy RCXD detected. We've fallen behind. Enemy spy plane inbound.
Frag out!
Enemy spy plane inbound. Multiple enemy spy plane contacts. Enemy spy plane inbound. Hostile sentry turret active. Enemy spy plane inbound. Enemy sentry turret detected in your AO. Hostile RCXD in your AO.
Thank you. Not bad. Well done. Break!
Enemy napalm strike incoming. Enemy napalm strike incoming.
Throwing stun.
Hostile spy plane established overhead. Hostile care package inbound. Hostile RCXD in your AO. Hostile RCXD in your AO. Enemy spy plane inbound. Hostile spy plane established over.
That's a kill.
They're kicking our asses. Fight back.
Frag out.
Enemy cruise missile launch detected. MTC is running down.
Friendly target.
Hostile sentry turret active. There's no coming back from that. All your asses back home, CIA.
TACOM, they destroyed us. Pull us out.
match. Germany is watching, BND. Make us proud.
Throwing grenade. Throwing grenade.
Hostile spy plane established overhead.
Throwing stun. Lost my round.
Enemy spy plane inbound. Multiple hostile spy planes detected. We are taking control. Enemy spy plane inbound. Hostile care package inbound.
Deploying war machine.
Hostile sentry turret active.
Won't be until later.
Okay, Anthony. No problem.
I need to unbind that thing.
Did stream finish?
Oh, the stream didn't finish. I'm just sitting here, bro. I just put in a stream saying, if you ever want to win your first ever game, just play I Spy with a blind person.
Yo, KJ, are you gonna wanna buy the traps or nah?
Grinning, squinting face. Dark humor round 5.
Oh, no, come on.
Let me see cash out that we wanna buy traps, bro. My cash app. If you guys wanna what's it called, buy some traps.
I was playing with my dog.
Oh, nice. What dog do you have, bro?
Yo, KJ, have you still in my stream? Anti-air traps are worthless. I know that. That's why I don't give them. I use them for my basing and missions.
And my Chinese friend came and he said,
I use those for my base. I just keep like a stack whenever I sell them.
Wow.
dinner has been served.
Well, it's actually good. They're actually good missions. But some missions just like a lot of freaking stuff. Like the ones that throw the balls in the air. And then they give me a lot of healing pads. I don't know why.
I'm just currently eating pizza right now.
They
Because
give
of
more
the pizza.
healing pads from like than other chests, bro. Look for Steel Wool album records and 40.
Thanks.
What is this, bro?
I was running down the road and asked my deaf friend if he wanted to join me. It didn't end well.
This is Steel Wool Mania is sweeping home base. Score the streets for anything Steel Wool related. Let me check. How to do the Steel Wool and save. I wanted to. What is that, bro?
Yeah, I'll be 1 minute, bro. I'll be like 1 minute. I just need to go do something real quick. Oh, I've got a dark humor joke. Are you ready for it? Got a really good one. Well, it's a long joke-ish, but it's really dark.
I was watching a movie called Up and my friend with Down syndrome came and said, "What you watching?" I told him the opposite to a disease.
You want to hear one that I've got?
Yay.
Alright, so 3 of my depressed friends asked if they wanted to hang out with me. And I said, yeah, sure. And then I texted them later that day, "Sorry, I'll be a bit late." By the time I got there, they looked like Christmas tree ornaments. They were doing what they all do, hanging from a tree.
Oh.
Oh, by the way, Warzone's working now.
I got one.
Do you want to play it? Do you want to play Warzone? Would you like me to play some Warzone? Because I'm trash and it's funny. You can make fun of me if you want because I don't mind. I won't let go.
You should.
Okay, at the end, the stream will end, but then I'll make one straight away. So it'll probably end like right now. 3, 2, 1.